Hi friends!
Hello.
Welcome to the Forest Magic Healing Sanctuary in Plainfield, Vermont. I'm Rae,
I'm Mitch.
and we are very blessed to steward these 7 acres up here in the mountains of Vermont. This would be original Abenaki territory, and we are grateful to consider ourselves stewards of the land, where we take care of gardens and mixed-use woodland. We call it the Healing Sanctuary, following my own healing journey from cancer and Mitch's subsequent caregiver healing journey. And now we really hold this space as a way to build community and offer the healing that this land provides to other people. And we wanted to make this video to share kind of my path into herbalism and to share the story behind my path into herbalism, because that's a story that I haven't really told yet, and we thought it would be nice to offer it as a video where we could show some of the land and some of what we're doing here with plant medicine and herbalism. And we're also trying out Mitch's role as an interviewer.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
So welcome. We hope you enjoy this video, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us today in this moment. Blessings, blessings to all of you. Thank you so much, Mitch, for taking the time to ask me some questions about my path to herbalism so we could share our story with people. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rae, and I'm glad to be having this conversation amongst our plants and our garden. Why don't you speak to how you became interested in working with plants and herbs?
I've always intuitively been so connected to nature, just from a very young age. My parents gardened, and I had my own little garden and loved gardening. We dried herbs, and I remember, always cooking with herbs and kind of knowing, what herbs were. I was really active in the Girl Scouts, and that was a place where I was able to do a lot of work learning about ecology and nature and really kind of playing with the plants and playing in nature. And as I grew older, I always had house plants, and I just kind of have always intuitively just been connected to plants and growing plants and knowing what herbs were. It's just been a part of kind of my DNA.
Awesome. And I know you're one of the most intuitive people that I do know. Can you speak to how that plays into how you work with herbs?
Yeah, I mean, intuition, I think for me, comes a lot from the water energy that flows within me. I've got a lot of water energy, and I've also got a lot of air energy, which is connected to knowledge. And so it's like there's these deep undercurrents of knowledge and how information flows that kind of moves through me, that combines with kind of my intuition, and it drives a lot of kind of the power behind how I operate in the world. And I feel energy really deeply. I feel the energy of people. I feel the energy of plants. I feel the energy of what's going around me. And also the communication exchanges that take place with that energy, which would make sense that I spent a good part of my career being in communications, because it really is based on that kind of undercurrent that flows within me. And, I also, when I was in my 20s and starting to kind of move out of the house and fully, get all of my things out of the house, I remember going in my parents' attic and finding all of these books on herbalism. And they're just these old books that I don't think they had really worked with. I don't know how they acquired them over time. And I intuitively knew, it was like, I have to have these books. These books need to come with me. And it was many more years before I really started going into them. But I carried them around with me, for years. And I know when we first met, I was living in that apartment in Burlington where I had a small garden and began growing herbs, right then and there, and kind of always knew the basic medicinal properties of peppermint and chamomile and worked with those from a very young age.
Yeah, I remember that garden. I remember you were really excited working with herbs, and kind of how sad you were because you ended up having to move to a place where you couldn't have a garden. That's
right, yeah. And then we found the rental in East Charlotte where we could have a really big garden. That was great.
Sure was. And I know that you, at that time, you kind of roped me in a little bit and kind of come and work with plants with me. And I was just starting to kind of figure that out early on. I remember we bought a bunch of plants, and when we moved here, we brought some with us from Charlotte. That was when you first started talking about an herb farm, if I remember.
Yeah,
years
that's
ago.
right. I was like, yeah, we could have an herb farm when we came here. Yeah, we brought a bunch of the plants from East Charlotte, and yeah, I was really interested in kind of scaling up a production, that if there was ever something that I was going to kind of grow and sell, it would be herbs, and that's moved on out. But at that same time we moved here, that was when I really started reading all of those herb books. And really I subscribed to some herb magazines and really started to learn more about the medicinal properties of the plants and acquiring a lot of knowledge. And then, of course, the downside of that was working in this communications career that I had. There was no time to actually work with the plants. So I was acquiring all this knowledge and was getting, really frustrated that I didn't have the time or the space to work with the plants. And that was a big factor in my career burnout, was that I was just so unhappy because I was in this hamster wheel of life and couldn't do what was in my soul.
Yeah, it was hard to watch you through that time, to know that you couldn't talk to the plants the way you wanted to, and then you ended up getting cancer.
Yeah, that was a time. Yeah, and talk and tend to the plants. I mean, there was just no space to do anything, and cancer. I mean, that was a wallop, and I knew early on in the diagnosis that I needed to fully engage in plant medicine. That was a huge missing link for my health, for my soul, for my spirit, for all of my wellness. And I was already working with naturopaths. I was working with naturopaths before I got cancer, but I really developed a kind of a cancer journey around working with different naturopaths and integrative medicine and regulars. So I kind of had that as a basis. I worked with the Vermont Center for Integrative Herbalism as a patient to really hone in on herb treatment specifically for me. And I mean, a huge part of my journey was to navigate conventional and holistic medicine. And that was a whole, offshoot in itself, because the systems aren't set up for those two to really be integrated. And so I had to do a lot of that on my own. I also remember, soon after being diagnosed, that I think I stamped, I had a kind of a temper tantrum, put my foot down, and I said, I'm never going to let my career get in the way of my gardening and engagement with plants ever again. And made the decision early on in my diagnosis that I was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to the Women's Herbal Conference. Because I had never been able to go before because of time, and I made that decision and I went.
Wow, I remember that time that you had decided you wanted to go there. I think you even planned your mastectomy, this major surgery, around going to the conference. What was that conference like for you?
Yeah, I did. It was so wild. I mean, at that point, this was 2018, the summer of 2018. I was super sick. I had a couple surgeries that kept still finding cancer, and at that point, we were pretty sure I'd probably have to have the mastectomy. And I was like, not until I go to the Women's Herbal Conference. Yeah, I went to the conference really with a very spiritual focus. There's a lot of learning that can take place there, and I felt for me, I didn't need to fill my brain with any more knowledge about plant medicine, because I was kind of bursting at the seams with knowledge and still not the application. And so what I really wanted to get out of the conference was taking the spiritual classes and really more deeply connecting my own spiritual practice that was developing through my healing journey with kind of the nurturing practice and teachers that I could learn from at the conference. And that way of facilitating my healing with the mind, body, spirit connection, I really was able to hone in on that spiritual piece at the conference. And, unbeknownst to me, I kind of went in with this whole, poor me, I have cancer attitude and just really sad. I mean, I was a really broken and sick woman at that point. And it was also this big awakening to the full realities of racial injustice. Because so much of the conference was focused on the cultural appropriation of herbs and how plant medicine comes from so many different cultures, and how much it's been appropriated kind of in white herbalism. And so there was all of these different layers of really learning around the hurt and the trauma that exists kind of in the plant medicine world, which I had no idea any of that existed. And because I was in such a sick, quiet place, it really allowed me to witness so much of what was happening in this kind of microcosm of racial justice that, you know, has blown up even more now. And it was truly a gift for me, because it snapped me from self-pity to this place of empowerment and knowing that I've got important work to do in social justice. And so that really helped me build a path forward that was moving me out of, here's my cancer journey, poor me, to there's a lot of injustice in healthcare, there's a lot of injustice in the world. We need to do something about it. And I mean, and I always kind of worked in social change work, but this really propelled me into a new space. And tapping into also my ancestry and my spiritual healing and oppressor ancestry, and kind of this combination of looking at my own DNA with kind of the DNA of racism that lives in white bodies. And that's become a huge part of my path forward.
Well, it has been so powerful to watch you change, and has also inspired me in my own healing journey. And I know that growing and harvesting and making wonderful medicine with these herbs has been truly a healing part for me too. And I want to thank you for that. It's been really, really great.
Oh, wow. Mitch, thank you for being there with me all the way.
You're welcome.
I just, thank you.
You're welcome.
For being there with me on this journey.
Didn't you end up working at the Women's Herbal Conference too?
Yeah, I did. The following year, I ended up getting hired as a staff to help with logistics at the Women's Herbal Conference, which was a really true blessing to get engaged in that way. And so when I say the Women's Herbal Conference, this is the New England Women's Herbal Conference, which was founded by Rosemary Gladstar, who is just one of the stewards of American herbalism. And she also co-founded United Plant Savers, which we're a member of, and we do some work with, you know, keeping the plants alive here. In fact, I don't know if you know, but we're going to be planting some ginseng this fall.
Right on.
And yeah, so Rosemary also has a course called The Science and Art of Herbalism, which I signed up for, and I've been really slow to start the course. And it's been interesting to me because I realized that part of why I've been so slow to start is I wanted to really learn from my own intuition and kind of tapping into my ancestral roots of, you know, white Western European ancestry, which goes back to medicine women times, and being able to really unearth what do I remember kind of through my DNA, through my ancestry. And so I wanted to be able to really be with that process and not have it just be about another set of lessons first. And I also wanted to get through those books that my parents had. I really wanted to kind of honor my lineage and the studies that I had before me. And now I'm at a place where I feel like I'm really ready to go back and study with Rosemary and do the Art and Science of Herbalism course. And having had, you know, a couple of summers here and especially this past summer when I'm not in, you know, a healing space, you know, I'm healthy and whole and vibrant, where I've really been able to be with the plants and listen to the plants and develop my own spiritual practice with them and making medicine. And so now I feel like I've got this kind of really strong foundation to be able to delve in this fall with the Art and Science of Herbalism.
Cool. Well, I know that I've learned so much with all the medicine that we grow. Could you give us an overview?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're in the garden. We're in front of the echinacea right now. We have a couple of different places where we grow herbs for food. I mean, for food and for culinary and a lot for medicine. And the medicine, it's mostly cancer treatment. So, you know, and things for you. So a lot of what we're growing here is for treating the root causes of my specific cancer, which was breast cancer. So I'm treating estrogen dominance, I'm treating digestion, I'm treating liver function, I'm treating inflammation, and I'm treating kind of how to manage stress responses in the body, both from a hormonal perspective and from an excess androgen perspective. So most of what we're growing is kind of a combination of treating all of those. And then, you know, working with you as a teacher, going through the times of COVID, which is a very anxiety producing time. We also, you know, do a lot with just more of how anxiety manifests in the body. So we've got some medicine growing for you this year that
awesome.
we're, you know, make you some good anti-anxiety blend that will be new for us. And I mean, my health, your health, you know, everything that we do here is very much combining food, supplements, nutrition. You know, very much my treatment plan is so much about food and plants and not pharmaceuticals, and mixed with mindfulness work and physical work and really move, you know, energy medicine and being able to move energy through the body and having that combined with yoga and movement practices, so that we're really releasing blocked energy and blocked tension out of the body. And that's a big part of, you know, all of how our wellness, how we stay healthy,
Yeah.
how we manage that mind, body, spirit connection here. And I mean, some people want to know, you know, are we, like you had mentioned herb production before, or herb farm. I mean, we're making we're drying herbs for teas. We're making infusions that go into salves and ointments. We're making tinctures for internal use. We grow herbs for spiritual purposes, to use in burning and ceremony. And really, anything we do with the herbs is our gifts. You know, it's really something I really want to try to encourage and be a part of the gift economy. And so I've kind of scaled back at looking at this as something that is a producer of money and transactional, and rather about relationships with people, relationships with the plants, and being able to make more than what we need so that we can offer to those who are in need. And the reality is, we still live in a country where, you know, the economy still has kind of a chokehold on us, and so we do need to make money. And I've just made the decision that income isn't going to really come from the plants. It's going to come from my services that I offer through Empower, which is my business.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview. It leads me to ask you, what is your overall dream, vision?
I mean, my overall dream and vision is to bring people to this land. We call it the Forest Magic Healing Sanctuary, and it's such a place of healing. It's been such a place of healing for us, and I want to be able to offer this as a healing space for people in this decade, for all of what we're going through. And I want the plants to be able to be a part of that, and my study in herbalism. I want my work in energy medicine to be a part of that. I really want to be able to build community so that the confines of this is like a single, you know, we own this home. I mean, we steward this land is more of how we look at it, but how do we get other people engaged in that? So it's not just about us and our property, but really building some sort of community around that. And that's really so much of my dream. I mean, I enjoy the kind of rolling out of the social justice, cultural transformation enterprise Empower that I run, and it's really trying to bridge the connection between individual healing and cultural healing, and the connectivity with the earth, and how all of that gets woven together. And how do I do that in a way that, you know, is sustainable for us to be able to steward this land, and that also is a way that we can offer our gifts to the world, especially through having this land and being able to share it, and to be able to share all of my gifts with the world.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.